Good day. We're learning this Basi Legani of the Rebbe 1951 Tafshin Yud Aleph. We are on chapter 6. From here till the end pretty much is much easier, more kind of practical and relevant, and all about, you could say, the Rebbe's mission, which is Avas Yisrael, to reach out and love every single Jew. And he picks this in the upcoming chapters as an example from each of the Rabbeim to show how they materialize the concept of Basi Legani in the practical world to make a Dira B'tachtonim. You know, and although I've learned this many times since I'm a young kid, you know, I think about it, like out of all the examples that he could have chosen for each of the Rabbeim, he picks Avas Yisrael. I mean, Avas Yisrael is, Avas Yisrael. Like every person could do Avas Yisrael. You're talking about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. You should talk about how they set up the agricultural colonies in Ukraine and Russia. How they helped the soldiers on the front of the Japanese-Russian War and other times. On and on and on. How they saved Gedolim who came to Kremenchuk in Ukraine, and they took him in, Reb Chaim Moiser, and then the Reb Baruch Ber, on and on. There's so many things to talk about the Lubavitcher Rebbeim over 200 years in history. And yet, what does the Rebbe choose? Kind of a very simple thing. And of course, the answer is that in this simple thing, that's where the Dira B'tachtonim is made by everyone. If you were to choose an example of something more lofty, then there would be a Yid who would say, it's not shaykh to me, it's not applicable to me. I'm no Rebbe, I'm no Chassid, I'm a regular guy, and etc. But by choosing the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael, which is so straightforward, as we'll see very soon, this applies to everyone, and no one can say, it's not applicable to me. Okay, let's go on to Ois Vav. My father-in-law, at the end of his Maimer Basi Legani 1950, he explains the fact that the Medrash says the primary, again, remember he's focusing throughout the Maimer on this one word, Ikar, not just Shechina B'tachtonim, Ikar Shechina, that the primary mode of divine presence of godliness is found here on earth in the lowest of the low, Tachtonim, where did this manifest itself? Primarily in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple. This is the reason why the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was specifically from cedar wood, Atzishitim. Because the purpose of the Mishkan is it's to transform the negative type of folly and silliness, stupidity. Und dem Koch von dem Nefesh Abamis, and to transform and convert the passion of the animal drive. Lishtus dikdusha, it should go from having a passion for shtuyot, for stupidity and silliness and folly and all of that. It should be transformed to have such a desire for God beyond the norm, which we call shtus de l'kedusha. And that's why Yisr Hashem said the symbolism of this message is in the actual architecture of the Mishkan, i.e. Atzei Shitim. Now, why Atzei Shitim? Hashem could have said, make another type of wood or another type. Specifically, Shitim, cedar wood, which is Atzei Shitim, because the whole Shitim is associated with the word Shtus. Atzei Shitim. Shtus wood. Convert Shtus wood from Klippa to Kedusha. Let's continue. Umayim Razal, as the Chazal say, Ahanele Shtusei L'Saba. The Gemara says that the sage came to a wedding and he made himself very silly. And then the Gemara says that a pillar of fire separated him when he went back to heaven, between him and the other sages. And the Buddha says, Ahanale, you know what helped him earn a special chamber in Gan Eden, separate from his other contemporaries. In other words, he was in a class of his own spiritually. Shtusei l'saba. It's the shtus that he danced like a lunatic, like a nut, and he made performances and he acrobats and everything else, and it seemed to be not honorable for such a Talmud Chacham sage to act that way, but he did it because of the mitzvah of Chasan Kala, Prurevu, Chasan, etc. So he went beyond the norm. And the Gemara says, Ahanalei, that helped this sage, Shtusi l'saba, this elder, this shtus helped him earn that position. Avoida ubitul shelamayla mitam v'das. In Chabad terminology, this was the service and the self-nullification and subservience to Hashem, transcending beyond, above and beyond logic and rationale, normalcy. Hine kol ha'inyonim shetova mi'itam kveit lushas moed v'chom mi'admur. All the things that my saintly father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, demanded, wanted, u'kamay kein shad ha-Nesiim, and so to the other Chabad Rabbeim called the princesses the Nesiim, kimu seba atzman. They themselves fulfilled it. They wouldn't ask of someone to do something if they themselves didn't do it, because it's hypocrisy. This is similar to what the Chazal say in the verse. Hashem says, he tells his words to Jacob. His statutes and laws to Israel, says Chazal, what Hashem himself does, that that he commands the Jews to do and to keep. Otherwise, Hashem would not instruct us to do certain things if he himself didn't do it. So too, whatever Hashem commands Yidden to do, he himself does in a spiritual way, of course. So it's also regarding the instructions of our Nesiim, our princesses, our Rebbes, those things that they demanded of those that are bound to them. And then he says another term, not just bound, but shayochem aleim, associated with them. Just for a moment, there's a difference between the two. And if you look into the first letter that the Rebbe wrote in preparation of the first yahrzeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe, you'll see these two terms, I think plus a third term. There are Mekusherim. Mekusherim are those that are bound to Lubavitch, to Chabad, to the Rabbeim. A Mekusher, it's called. And that's a select category. Then there are those that are not Mekusherim, they're not connected and bound. Shayochim. In English, some would say they're friends of Chabad. But it's really more Issa than friends of Chabad. It's really more. Shayochim, Shayochim doesn't mean just a friend. I'll write a check once a year and I'll come maybe to a Hanukkah event. Shayochim means they have an association. But their association is not limitless like a Mekusher. A Mekusher is basically do or die. Do or die for whoever I'm Mekusher to. I'm ready to jump into fire, into water, and I'm ready to run to the other end of the world like a shliach. No, I'm not saying just a shliach. I'm just saying